So thank you all for joining our webinar on the GelSight Modulus system. So I'm Abby Lindberg. I lead GelSight's applications engineering team. With us on via chat is Frank Chang. He'll be answering questions throughout the webinar through the chat feature. So as a reminder, go ahead and use the Q&A throughout the webinar. It's on Teams, so it might be a little tricky to find. We have the chat disabled, but the Q&A enabled. If you need to click the little ... at the top to get to it, you might need to do that to find it. And as a reminder, we're going to be posting this to YouTube once we've finished the webinar. So that should be uploaded after this. So with us today, we have Milan, and I'll pass it over to him to introduce himself and then introduce Modulus.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Abby. I'm Milan Kosic. I'm the head of product here at GelSight. I was going to say Modulus. And we'll first go through a little bit of show and tell as to what comes in the box when you guys purchase Modulus and what it is actually that Modulus consists of. And after I finish my little show and tell, Abby will get into more technical part of what Modulus does. And then we'll wrap it up with some extra information and Q&A. So I will ask Abby to switch for the grand reveal camera. So go for it. All right. So what we have here, and I'm reaching by my hand, so make it easy, is the case that essentially we ship the Modulus in. So I'm going to go component by component in order to kind of show you what comes in the case, but also explain how Modulus is put together. So the first thing I'm going to reach for is this right here, which is called the body. And I'm going to bring it into the camera over here. So I'm going to make you look at two different things at the same time. This is called the body. So this is what contains the main camera. I'm going to take the cover off, and that's essentially what you can't really see it, but there's a camera inside of here. And this is kind of the heart of Modulus. This also contains right here on the side an RFID, and Abby will get into it as to what RFID is used for. And in the end, for people who might already be Modulus already GelSight customers, there's an M12 connector. So this is a nice connector which you can basically, let me just do this quickly, unscrew, and then basically put it back in and screw it back in. The cable itself, default shipment is 2 meter, but we also have a 3 and a 5 meter option. We've tested with longer cables, but the only cables offered today are 2, 3, and 5 meter cables. I'm going to grab now from the box. So I'm reaching in the box, if you guys can see. I'm just making sure I can get the right one. This is the lens. I'm going to put the body down. This is the actual lens. Again, we have one cover that we take off, and then we have the other cover. What's the purpose of these two things? Obviously, to protect them as you use it, but if you take the actual lens and you take the camera or the body and you basically put this in and screw it on, this is essentially what a Modulus system. So you have the cable, you have the body, you have the lens, and then at the end, there's a gel. And I'll just take one out and then I'll get back into a little bit more. Let me put it down for a sec. This is the actual gel that we ship. And again, Abby will get into it more about what it is. But essentially, gel goes right here at the tip of actual lens. I'm going to put this back. The one nice thing about this is the obvious one, which is you can take off the lens and put a different lens on it. The ones that we're going to demonstrate for you today are both the straight lens, which is what I'm holding in my hand, which is called L1600. And I'm also we're going to demonstrate the L1690, which is a same lens, but it has a 90-degree turn on here, so you can get inside of different things that you're trying to measure. There's one more last thing I'll point out in the box before I hand it over to Abby. I'm going to put this back, and that is a new calibration kit. So if we look at this, in the past, you guys would get the 3 plates that are magnetic. So basically, you can easily, so this will make this a little bit easier. This is magnetic. And right inside of here, there's the actual components you need to calibrate. And that's on a slider. And what you have on the top is essentially, if we take the straight down lens, I'm gonna do this, is it goes inside of here. And then, for example, when you have to do the spins by 90 degrees, you just take the whole thing and spin it around. So the nice thing here is it's a little bit easier to calibrate than what we've done in the past. And it's being assisted by a much better design of the calibration unit. So that is what comes in it. There's been some questions for us, which is that customers already asked about S2 and Modulus being together. So we're also working on a case that will house both units in the same case. But this is kind of the basics of what Modulus and what comes in the box. And I'm going to throw it over to Avi to get into more technical detail, especially with software stuff.
All right, thanks, Milan. So I did want to double click on a couple of the features that he already mentioned that really have come as part of this product, as part of feedback from our customers directly. So we have the new calibration target that's basically going to include your 3 targets in one, whereas typically we've had separate targets for each of those, as well as that alignment and fixture tool that we just saw. We also have the RFID functionality that was mentioned. So we've got this option here, and we actually just take our gel cartridge container and tap it on the side of our Modulus body, and that's going to add our new gel. So the RFID technology enables easy gel swapping. And we are also going to have some improved gel durability as part of this new gel formulation for Modulus. And another thing that we've added is the opportunity to have a hardware and a software trigger. So our Mac system is just a hardware trigger. Series 2 has a software trigger as well as the button. But this will have the option for hardware and software triggering. And Milan already mentioned the M12 connector for improved USB connectivity and just ruggedness of the connection. And then also the option for longer cables. I think we're all really excited about the opportunity to have a 5-meter cable here. So I'll go ahead and I'll share my screen in just a minute. But before I do that, I'll highlight that we have the same principle of operation for this system. So the main difference here is we've basically just separated the lens from the body. So we've got our camera system here and our lens system here, allowing for the swappable configuration here. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Switch my camera here to the table, and then we'll share the GelSight mobile software. And the first thing that I'm going to do is press my fingertip into the top of the sensor here. This is our favorite part of our demos, just to give you an idea of the resolution here. So same principle behind this. We're taking, when I click the button, we're going to take the 6 images from the 6 different lighting orientations and use that for our normal map and height map creation. So I have a couple of different samples that we'll take a look at here on the table. We've got this adapter plate and we've got this turbine blade. So for the first scan that we take, I'm going to go ahead and scan a defect right on the base of this. So this is something we typically wouldn't be able to access, the root of this blade, with our Series 2 system. So I'm going to go ahead and take a scan of this defect here. So you can see that there. And I'll just click the button to take the scan. Click that there. And our 3D data is going to generate, and we'll be able to open that scan up and we'll look at that 3D reconstruction. And so we do have some advanced image alignment happening, similar to what we have for our Mac system. And once that's generated, we'll be able to open that up and look at the 3D. So let's take a look at this first one.
First, this is a live demo.
Here we go.
This worked like 10 times. So for whatever reason, but it's finally here. So
we've got the 3D reconstruction here. You can take a look at that. We could also open up the second scan that I took here and take a look at the 3D view here. So you can recognize we're using the same software. We're using our GelSight mobile software. And I can go ahead and maybe we'll take a look at the defect detection function on this. So I typically would use the defect detection on a flat surface. So we can see this surface is only slightly curved, and we're looking at such a small area that we can pick up that defect even though we're on a slightly curved surface. And then we'll take that and we'll go ahead and generate our PDF report from here. So I'll just click PDF. And here's our PDF report to go with that. So I'll actually switch back to capture now. And we'll come over here into the view. And I'm going to swap our lenses. Yep. All right, so I'm swapping our lenses here to our 90 degree. And we're just going to drop this in and tighten the locking ring here. And we'll see the lens pop up as a configuration in just a second once we've got that locked in. Great. And now we'll take a look at this second sample here. And this is another area that I wouldn't have previously been able to access with our other systems without some sort of replica material. So I'm going to go ahead and measure on the inner diameter of this surface right around here. So I'm just going to press the tip into here and you'll see that live view. And I'll click the button to take the scan. All right. So we've got that 3D data generating now. Also comment a little bit on the size of the tip or size of the lens for access. So this width here, it's about 25 or just over 25 millimeters. So the ability to access areas about an inch or below for the inner diameter of a bore or a pipe or something like that. And now we'll come back over and take a look at maybe this first scan here. And we can take a look at this in 3D as well. It looks like that was still generating when I clicked on it. So we'll do the generation at this point now.
There seems to be a slight delay between what you and what they.
Oh, between my audio and the video share.
Yeah.
All right. So it looks like now you should be able to see the 3D. And we can see the curvature of the inner diameter there. And for this, I'll go back and for this example, let's do some profile roughness. So same way that we're used to seeing for our other GelSight systems, we'll just draw the line across the surface here. And we can configure our filter cutoff or our number of profiles and click analyze here to get the average roughness of that surface. So kind of same capabilities as our other systems because we're running the same software. Now I'll stop sharing my screen now and we'll jump over and I'll pull up the specifications so we can take a look at that and kind of compare the different products. So let me share our PowerPoint again. Switch the camera here. And we'll share the slideshow. All right. All right, here we go. So I have our specifications pulled up here. You can see our Modulus in the first column, and we've got Series 2 and Max pulled up as well. So you'll see similar performances between Modulus and Series 2, but I did want to highlight kind of one key difference here, and that's going to be your field of view. So this is kind of what the item that you're trading to get the smaller access. We're obviously going to have a smaller field of view. This gel is significantly smaller than the one we're used to seeing for Series 2. So you're going to get a field of view closer to 6.5 by 5.5 millimeters as opposed to.
I lost your camera.
Oh, lost our camera. Okay. All right. Well, I can just talk about it and then I'll show you the
That's
camera
it.
again.
You can swing and I'll go for it.
Oh, there we go. Okay. But all we're basically talking about is the size of the gel. And I'll actually pull up another slide following this one to show you the difference in maybe access that we can get to. So we'll go to this next one here to kind of highlight the differences. We have the Max on top and Series 2 second, and then the two different views of the Modulus. So you can see, a much smaller physical gel location, but you'll also see the tighter radius that can be accessed by it. And on that final view with the 90-degree lens, you'll see kind of that 25.4 millimeter that I mentioned for accessing internal geometries. So maybe Mon, you could talk a little bit about how these systems are all complementary and how our product lineup can meet with each other.
Sure. Hopefully my camera is working. If you look at the spec sheet that Abby showed, the three devices that we make are Modulus, S2, some of you know it as GelSight Modulus, and Max. The obvious goal of putting Modulus together was to try to match the S2 performance as close as possible. And basically, all the numbers pretty much match, except what Abby mentioned was the field of view. And we, sorry about this, we have people walking through. And in essence, the performance of the two is so similar in a sense that you can essentially interchange the systems together except for the reach. So S2 will obviously give you a much bigger field of view than Modulus does, and Modulus will give you the reach that you might not be able to get with S2. So two systems, rather than being exclusive, they're actually complementary to each other. So it's a nice way how Modulus and S2 essentially coexist in the same ecosystem, and that's where it goes. As a matter of fact, I think there's been already one or two customers that are looking at purchasing both as a way to complete their kind of ability to be able to measure what they're looking for. And then, of course, Max is kind of, I guess, the Cadillac from the accuracy and performance, and that's where you get to if you need to do more precise measurement than what you need to do. But in essence, now we have three systems that are complementary to each other and each designed for a particular task that altogether can probably complete a larger volume, a larger ecosystem that you're looking to measure. I'll hand it over back to Ed.
Sure, yeah. So I think we're particularly interested in some additional feedback for what we can do with this in the future. So maybe you want to add a little bit more to that too.
There's a couple of things that we want to mention. I'll reach for the one that Abby has and just show you. The Modulus device does have mounting holes, so you can utilize it in automated environments such as URs and others, things that you might have to do. Another thing to talk about is that this is not it's not like we just built a Modulus with two lenses and now we're like, okay, we call it a day and then we move onwards. We are working on new attachments and new lenses, but we are also looking for this kind of forums to supply ideas. So you have on the screen info@gelsight.com, and our sales and product people and everybody else, we always look for feedback and voice of customers. So if there is a particular challenge you might have and you're looking to solve it and you think you have an idea what kind of things might help you, we're always looking for the information because it will help us build the devices that you need to solve your problems. And that's ultimately what we are trying to get to. One last thing is I'm going to reach again, so I may move out of the screen for a sec. This is the case that contains the gel. An important thing about this, there's also an RFID included with this gel. So in the future, as you guys are calibrating, picking gels, you would put it next to your modular system, which the RFID is on this side right here, and it will actually identify the gel, the serial number, and everything else you need. So we, as you wanted to just emphasize that we at GelSight continuously look how to improve the user experience and to give you a much easier way from the box to measurement, so that essentially you can be working in no time and gathering measurements that you need.
Thanks, Milan. So I think at this point we probably have we do have some time for questions. I've seen a couple of them come in the Q&A, but go ahead and feel free to add any other questions and we'll start answering them. Reminder, you might have to click more to get to the Q&A section in Teams. But I'll start by running down a couple of these. So we've got one here that says, for deeper holes, will there be extensions that fit within, the 1-inch diameter? If so, how long could an extension be? I think there's kind of two parts to this. So one, we can definitely reach out and share the actual drawing of the dimensions. You can see, obviously, the body is a little bit larger than the lens here. So once we get to this depth, we'll have a little bit wider of a diameter that we would need to have access to. But as Milan pointed out, we do have mounting holes on this. So we do leave you the option to build your own extension. I don't know. Do we have a plan to create our own accessories?
I mean, I guess and in the back of it, by the way, there's also a connection for a foot switch. There's also a software trigger. So I guess theoretically speaking, you can put it on a stick and go inside of a board. But, those will be something we would have to work together with you as a potential solution. But we also have an empty shell CAD drawing. So if you want to see it, if it fits within particular CAD file that you may have, we can also share that with you if needed. So that should be able to help you figure out what is reachable and what is not reachable.
Thanks. All right. So let's see another one. Can the 3D data set be exported to use with other analysis tools? So we can export the STL file for this, for all of our 3D data across all of our different products. So you can definitely input it into anything that uses an STL file, as well as X3P. And then we do have some, if you want to write your own software, we can help you read it in MATLAB or Python too. All right. We've got another question that we'll see how much you want to answer about this one, Milan. But we've got, can you share some new lens designs in the pipeline?
Unfortunately, as everybody knows, we can't really share that, but we can tell you that there's a few lenses coming probably by late this or early next year. As the information becomes available, we'll obviously share it with the public. But I will answer the question slightly differently. Tell us what you're looking for, and I'll tell you if that's something we're making. And that's how we can make this go forward.
Thank you. We've got another one. Is it possible to interchange probes? So can the GelSight Max system be used by just changing the probe to the new GelSight Modulus? Yes, we're using the same exact software. Just unplug Modulus and plug in the Max system, and you can switch back and forth between them. So if you're already an existing user, you could just add the additional hardware and use your existing software. You would, of course, need our GelSight Mobile 4.2 software that's about to come out. So that would be you just need to make sure you're on the latest software version. All right, let's see another one here.
Abby's the curator of questions.
Taking a look at them. All right, so can we elaborate more on gel durability? Milan, do you want to take that one as well?
Like every new product, there's new things in it. So the new gel is definitely more durable than the existing gels that we currently have on Max and S2. We will probably share more data on what exactly does that mean in a bit. Primarily is because there's different usage scenarios. Are you taking just a single measurement? Are you potentially dragging a little bit across the surface? There's all kinds of variability that comes into that. But I will say, as of today, that it is more durable than the existing gels. We will share a little bit, but probably within a few weeks, as to how much that is, and then take it from there. But it's good news, I can tell you, everybody. It's good news.
Thank you. All right, and then we've got this next question that says, what are the depth and slope limitations for features with depth, such as indents, when using Modulus? So I know we've done our initial studies up to 1 millimeter with both of the 90-degree and straight lenses. As far as the slope limitations, that's what we're investigating that now across our products. We do have initial recommendations on 90-degree slopes not being something that we would recommend measuring directly with our system. But we have some internal studies on that we're working on making customer facing. So we'll follow up with that once it's available. All right, let's take a look at another one here. Is there autofocus? That's a great question. Yes, we do have autofocus on the Modulus system. And another one, any plans on articulating lens, perhaps gel at the end of the lens? Articulating lens, so like maybe moving it, kind of like borescope maybe. I guess that would be kind of,
I think, yeah,
that's what I'm picturing.
I would say that, and the head of our sales, Dennis, will probably tell you that every time he shows Modulus, the next question is, so can you put this on a borescope? I think that's probably 99% of the questions we ever heard. So it's not something that has been asked and something we thought about, but being a startup and everything else, we have to take everything in stride and do what's possible in quickest ways. But I would say it is definitely somewhere in the future in the roadmap to explore whether that's going to go and that's going to work in a flexible lens. Obviously, for the obvious reason, which is to get into super tight places and be able to measure that. But I would say, I think it's been as long as I've been here, it's been asked the same question. So let's say it's in the plans.
All right, and we have another question on the specification sheet. The Modulus system specifies the accuracy from 5 to 50 micron. So right now, would we recommend measuring features below 5 micron with the Modulus system? And we're going to say no right now. We would recommend switching to Series 2 or the Max system if you need those measurements of those finer features in the 1 micron range. All right, let's see. We've got another couple questions here. Time for a couple more. We've got can we get an on-site demo? Of course. So if anyone reaches out about that right now, of course, we'll follow up with that. But feel free to reach out to us directly and we'll get that coordinated too with our local sales team. They do have their Modulus systems in hand now, ready to go.
Abby loves doing on-site demos in Hawaii, so anybody out there?
Yeah, sign me up for that. Actually, Frank on the Q&A would probably get to go, unfortunately. Fortunately for him. We have another question here that says, any concerns about handshake when taking images? So we have developed an advanced image alignment algorithm. It's similar to the one that you see with our GelSight Max system to prevent any issues with caused by handshake. We're getting into some pretty tight spaces that might be awkward to access, but we're compensating for that with our image stabilization. So we shouldn't see any issues from that. All right. More? Yeah, I think we've got one more. I see that the gel is slightly rounded. Can measurements be taken along the periphery of the gel versus the center? So the field of view that we're looking at is basically that 5.5 by 6.5 kind of rectangle in the center of this. So we wouldn't actually be able to take it with like the edge of the gel here. For example, it would be in the center of the field of view, but you can use our analysis tools throughout that whole field of view. It doesn't necessarily need to be directly in the center of the gel. All right, so I think that's probably all we have time for. And for the rest of the questions that are still in the queue, we'll make sure that we follow up after this. But this is a reminder, we'll be posting this to YouTube. And thank you to everybody for joining today to meet in our GelSight Modulus system.
Thank you all.
All right.